Welcome to a brand new 5-Heart podcast and technically live show. I say technically because we're live right now. There's not a whole lot of technically about it. I'm your host, Greg Mahochko. Joining me as always, our founder, our fearless leader, one damn handsome example specimen of a man, John Dam Johnston. Hello, John.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, sir?
I'm great. It's fine. Everything's great.
Can we just recap your events of Saturday?
Okay.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, we talked about it for a few weeks here on the show, and hopefully some of you made it over to the website, the link that we provided the last month or so. But John participated in a Polar Plunge, not just any Polar Plunge, for the benefit of the Minnesota Special Olympics, and in 4-degree weather. John.
Yes. It
My
was
goodness.
cold.
My
it was very
goodness.
Cold. It was
I'm
very
proud
cold.
of you.
Are you?
I'm very proud of you. It's I always the notion of a polar plunge has intrigued me for years, but I've not ever participated because I hate being cold. So I'm proud of you for a lot of reasons. But I know you did it. I watched your recap video that you shared with the world on Sunday, talking about the reasons why you wanted to participate in this particular event, and I'll provide the cliff notes for the abridged version. At what you wanted to do is you wanted to help show support for the Minnesota Special Olympics and raise some funds there, and also for coworkers that were there. And as you describe in the video, and we've talked here, one of your Polar Plunge teammates was the guy who was holding you when you died.
He was holding me?
Maybe I over dramatized it, but also because being a heart attack survivor that you are, and God bless, we're thrilled that you are a heart attack survivor. You just want to see if you could do it, and you got the thumbs up from your cardiologist, maybe not so much your neurologist, but I'm just kidding. So you did it, and it looked unbearably cold.
It was. It was 4 degrees and you're coming out of the water. It was freezing. Wade Farr says, is this a rewind or replay? We tend to recap stuff because Greg didn't get in on the Monday night thing, and he hasn't talked to me yet about my Polar Plunge.
Yeah,
I was going to say something about it that was different than Monday night. Doggone it. Now, see, that's what happens when you have an old brain. It just, ideas come, they just fly around like butterflies, and then they're gone.
Roger, we keep going back to that. Colder than an onside kick. Beetle B says, it's almost spring in Lincoln, 38 and sunny, and John, you are a trooper.
Here's something new for you, Wade. I am guessing that most of you have never heard of a person called Wim Hof, Wimhof. And Wim Hof is a guy who has set records for, I think he set like a world record for running a half marathon in nothing but his underwear above the Arctic Circle. That's the key there. He is a guy who's all about ice. He's all about cold. He sets a lot of records for cold weather tolerance. And he talks about taking cold showers and stuff. And I do that now. I've been doing it for about 2-3 years, mostly because my circulation isn't what it should be. I get very cold in winter and it's miserable, and I wanted a way to tolerate this more, and that has helped. And there, when I put that video on a lot of heart attack survivor groups that I'm in, a lot of people replied with, how it was part of their culture to do the sauna and then jump in the frozen lake thing. And it was interesting, the different viewpoints of people hating the cold, and then other people going, oh my God, this is part of something we do all the time. So
Fred says that he heard the Flying Salami Brothers wrestled a lot in Wim Hof. And he'd also had made a comment about He said, "Is it safe to say, John, you were covered in frost
Oh God.
when you got out of the water? The worm has turned, no pun intended." Blaine has, of course, we know and appreciate Blaine joining us from Japan. He says, John, you may be interested in, I'm hoping I pronounced this right, misogi, a Shinto purification ritual. It can be performed in a river, ocean, or under a waterfall, and he finds it useful.
I will look that up, Blaine. Thank you.
Let's see. 17-year-old Wade was taking cold showers because he didn't have gas. Probably taking cold showers for other reasons as well for a 17-year-old. And then Linda provided an update. It is her son. I'm trying to remember if her son's girlfriend and girlfriend's daughter are doing the 777 challenge. And quick update here: took second in the ladies in AA. Son took third in AA, minus 27 degrees Celsius, not counting 20-mile-an-hour wind. They both took third in South Africa and on the way to Perth, Australia now. That is insane.
I was thinking AA was Alcoholics Anonymous, but
I knew you would.
I guess that's Antarctica, huh?
That'd be my guess. Yes. So, and before she asks, I want to make sure Linda knows the beverage of the night. Beverage of the night comes from the second largest brewery in St. Louis after Anheuser-Busch. It is Schlafly Brewery, and
What?
this is Schlafly.
Yeah.
Schlafly, Schlafly Brewery, and this is their pale ale. And I've a big fan of this particular beer. Let's see what it says around the neck here. Schlafly Pale Ale is smooth, balanced, and copper-colored with a mildly spicy flavor and aroma from the English hops, malt, and yeast. This English-type session ale is a Schlafly tradition available year-round.
Where is that from?
Schlafly.
Yeah, where?
Schlafly. St. Louis.
Oh. Don't they have an accent that you could do?
Do they have an accent that I could do?
Yeah, look at it. It's Schlafly. Come on down to get Schlafly. Get a pale ale.
I speak like everybody else from this area, sir. How dare you? We don't have an accent.
Good, 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 good.
That was the beer hitting the neck. I apologize.
Okay. Hey,
what?
it's signing day.
It's signing day.
It's signing day.
It sure is. And if we were a more prepared show, we'd have everybody ready to go and discuss all the good things there. John, why don't you tell the good people about signing day today? While my dog click-clacks behind me here.
You know what? We have 39 new players.
Isn't that insane?
That's crazy. I mean, it really is. I think there were 7 transfer. There's more than 7. No, there's like 32 recruits and 7 transfer portal people.
That's crazy.
33. No, about 10 portal transfer people. That's amazing. I mean, that is huge number of people to bring into your organization. Not only that, but think about this for a minute. We have approximately 40 new people on staff. Or 40, not necessarily new staff positions, all of them, but 40 different people added to the staff. I mean, when you go through all of this, like general manager, ops, director of football relations, director of football ops, football admin assistant, senior director of player personnel and recruiting, director of scouting, associate director of player personnel. I mean, director of graphic design. Maybe that guy was always there. But huge number of people on this staff now, and 39 new players. That's incredible. I mean, we could go through them, but what did I bug you about before the show? I said just the important ones.
Yeah, and
that doesn't even include the walk-ons. That does not include walk-ons. Just so everybody knows.
It's insane. It's it makes for a lot of on the fly. Try to get the pictures up for the good people to enjoy and appreciate.
And we have Oh my God, where was I going? See, I did it again. I looked off over here and I saw some names. Um, we have over 100 players on scholarship, which means that spring, now they have to get this down to 85 players on scholarship in August, right? By the time the fall camp starts. Now, what a lot of people are thinking is, well, they can just do a nil deal with an athlete and then they don't have to pay for a scholarship. Would you take that? Would you take that, Greg? Would you take that if you were a scholarship player?
Why not?
No. What the hell?
Okay, sorry.
And scholarships are kind of guaranteed in the Big Ten. Remember when the Big Ten did this? We want you to guarantee scholarships for 4 years.
Yes.
Okay, a nil deal can be canceled. When?
That
Yeah,
quick,
pretty
I'm guessing.
much like that. I mean, we haven't seen these contracts. I think the Athletic might have had a contract example, but I mean, most employment contracts have a 30-day clause, cancellation clause, termination for both sides. Because, if you have a guy that goes out and he gets arrested or he says stupid things that are, hate speech or racist or anti-Semitic, you're going to cancel that contract immediately. So this idea that we're just going to use nil to magically replace scholarships, that's a no-go. That's not going to happen.
No, I don't. Yeah, is nil going to replace scholarships? No, but if it's a matter of, hey, you can, come to Lincoln, play football, get an education, and you can do it without nil money and no scholarship, or with nil money and no scholarship. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a no-brainer, John, and I'm not that bright, but that feels like a no-brainer.
Wade Farr asked how many left. No, that's right now. We have over 100 players on scholarship right now. That doesn't count who's been in the transfer portal and already left. That's right now. So Linda Wilkins says, did you see Nick Saban's comments on nil today? I didn't note them. If I think he had said that he basically said no to some guys that wanted nil contracts, but he's Nick Saban. He can do that shit.
Yeah. So, and I'd heard this before. I don't know if we addressed it here or not, but he received nil requests from two players. This is from Bleacher Report. Nil requests from two players totaling $1.3 million, and he said no.
Yeah.
Nope.
I mean, he can do that. He's Nick Saban.
Right. But I also heard, what was it was it Miami or Florida? Some high school kid was wanting $13 million in NIL.
Yeah.
Come
or they
on
were
now.
going to give him $13 million and everything fell through. And he ended up committing to Arizona State today, I believe.
That what is any? Trying to figure out how to phrase this, because I know there are, and I've said this for years across professional sports, there are some bloated contracts out there. But is any high school kid's football career before he's stepped foot on a college campus worth $13 million?
Well, if you're Florida and you want to win, and you have $13 million laying around.
That's
there
where
there are people that just have that kind of money. Years ago I got basically fired from a customer site and told not to come back because I had facial hair. And where I was working was a division of IDS that handled investments for people who had over $250 million portfolios. I mean, everybody that I was working around all had the stiffest starched shirts, gold cufflinks, was impeccably dressed, and they basically said, you're really good at IT, but you don't really belong here. And I went, oh God, thank God. I don't really belong here. But I mean, there are a lot of people that just have that kind of money to just poop wherever they want to. Well, it scratches, it itches here. I'll scratch it. Here's $13 million.
Going back to, I believe it was the two trying to get 1.3 million from Alabama. Linda had a good point. One of the two wanted his girlfriend to get into, and she says, George, I have no reason to doubt her, but I can't remember the exact school. Wanted to get her into law school and have them pay for it. I mean, the I'm going to say this diplomatically, as diplomatic as I can. The cojones on some of these kids, you know.
Well, if you don't ask, you don't get, you don't receive, I guess. You just, have a plan B in there for when you get told no or told go F yourselves. So.
A lot of, this is bringing up a lot of good NIL talk, which, we'll get to the commits and the signees. I've busted my butt screenshotting the players. We're going to get to them, don't worry. But Blaine had said a few moments ago, it's a business after all. Does Nebraska have a coordinators for NIL? I believe they do.
Well, you have all these people. You have all these new staff. These new staff people, a general manager, and all that kind of stuff. So you got to believe that somebody is doing that job somewhere.
I believe it obviously separate from the NIL collaboratives. There's somebody that's in-house who's helping coordinate, to use Blaine's word right there, take care of all. This is a lot. Think about this. This is, I feel like the NIL coordinator for Nebraska or any, university, they're almost an agent, are they not? They're handling deals and everything else, but they're not getting compensated like an agent.
Yeah, this stuff has a long ways to go.
Sure.
It really does. I noticed some people are commenting that, the federal government needs to regulate this. I don't know. Okay. Right now, there's no regulation whatsoever on this stuff. The NCAA is trying to do this thing where they're going to use circumstantial evidence to bring about violations and penalties and stuff like that. But it's really just a completely toothless organization. They don't really, Joel Tilson says the NCAA should step up and regulate NIL. They can't. They can't enforce anything like that. They just can't. They don't have the legal wherewithal to do that, as far as I know. I mean, they pretty much have been, put it this way, the lawsuits they have lost have pretty much killed any level of enforcement they can do completely. I mean, maybe they could nail Towson for something, or Fordham. They sure as hell aren't going to nail the University of Alabama for anything. And the government, Cornhusker Corner says, be careful what you ask for when you say the words federal government. He's exactly right. I mean, I don't want to get into politics, but our federal government, to me, does nothing right except pay its employees and collect taxes. That's not a left or right thing. They don't do anything very well. And when it comes to regulating this, I'll tell you this. In 30 years of IT consulting, the absolute worst document I've ever had to read in my life was an 80-page document from the Department of Defense called How to Hunt and Handle Unclassified Data, which is germane to right now in the news. But it was so ambiguous that I had no idea how we were going to fulfill the requirements in it. And that's the kind of stuff you get from the government where you're trying to follow the regulations a lot of times. They are so ambiguous you can't follow them. So the whole NIL deal, I think it's going to take 4 or 5 years at a minimum to straighten out or kind of settle down and figure out what's working and what isn't. And here's how I look at NIL. I look at it like kind of an art patron, right? You don't look at an artist. Let's say whoever commissioned Michelangelo to do the Sistine Chapel didn't look at him and say, "If you don't get 100,000 visitors in here a year, you're going to starve." They just gave him the money and said, "Here, paint this giant thing that will live through history." You know what I mean? They just basically had the money and commissioned him to do work.
Pope Julius II in 1508.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So Fred says, Fred bringing his usual charm and sense of humor and jokes, says the NCAA is roughly the same as the NFL. They lead from behind, kind of like our former HE. We do have this really is, and John, I'm going to head to the pinned messages. You pin any of them.
Okay.
Thank you, Nate. Pin any of them that come in, but. I posted this one up while you were ranting, but Chris May says, I don't know about you guys, but does this nil stuff kind of remind you of the huge rookie contracts in the NFL prior to the rookie pay scales? It's
Yeah,
not.
it kind of does.
It's not totally dissimilar, because you're guaranteeing money to a certain extent on the guarantee, I suppose, in NIL, because I guess they can always change their mind, or I don't know what these contracts look like, but you're paying. There's a transaction taking place for an individual who's untested at that level. Now, I've never played Division I football. I've never played in the NFL. Shocker, I know. But I would imagine that even the highest level and 5-star ability as a senior in high school, but unless you're Bo Jackson, you are learning, and you have to play catch up, redshirt year, freshman year, things like that. It's very much the same. Again, unless you're a top tier talent level, jumping from college to the pros. I can't remember who it was. It was. I think it was Derrick Henry who said, that even though he was playing at Alabama, the difference between, and he was homering, showing favoritism to the SEC, but he said even the difference from playing in the SEC to the NFL is night and day. That's why the joke was, when Alabama was riding high and Jacksonville Jaguars were being the Jacksonville Jaguars, is like, my gosh, I feel like Alabama could take on Jacksonville and beat them, but they couldn't. It's not feasible. So, Chris, in a long way of answering your question, I'd say it's very similar.
It is.
And then we've got this one from Fred. He says, I like head coach Matt Rule's approach to NIL. Sell the players on us, Nebraska versus the NIL, compared to what Deion's doing or like Texas A&M did. That's good. That's a great point. We're not, from what I can tell, not out there making it rain, flashing $100 bills, sporting whatever bag, Louis Vuitton and Lamborghinis. It was, I feel like, echoing Fred here, I feel like Matt Rule and company are doing it the right way. And you and Todd addressed this past week a couple nights ago, I should say, on the Monday Night Therapy, is they're going grassroots. They're going hitting up all the towns, as many towns as you can in Nebraska, getting a lay of the land. And I think just in the 2 months that he's been here, I feel like Nebraska fans have a really good understanding why Matt Rule was so popular in Texas when he was the head coach of Baylor.
Yeah, I'd say the whole Neil deal, it still comes down to, I did that video about the 90s, the untold story, and I talked about Boyd Epley's speech, about how he got up in front of the players and said everybody has to commit to, they want to be there. That's still the football program you have to have. You can't have just guys showing up because, I'm getting paid. I don't think, in the NFL, yes, because they are professionals in the NFL. They're professional football players. This is profession for them. This is their career. In college, it's not. So you still have to have those guys with a mentality that I'm showing up and I'm doing these workouts because I want to be here. So, I guess that's how you build a a college football team. I think it's going to get hard. It's gotten a lot harder for the coaches that don't want to do that. At least the ones not named Nick Saban.
All right, sorry. Linda has a comment about one of the NIL collectives, and Kinsey Knuckles, formerly of the volleyball program, is working. And I guess she's phrasing it as a question. I believe somebody in the comments already confirmed, but is working for the 1890 collective. So maybe that has some. She's speculating that it has some agent functions as well. I don't know if that means she's working for them, like in the sports marketing type of how to become an agent, or I don't know. I'm outside the 500-mile radius.
Let's put it this way: Texas won a national title this last year in volleyball. How did they do it? Yeah.
Money.
They basically paid Akana to go down there, and they paid Kayla McCaffey to go down there. So if you want to win a national title in volleyball, I guess you're going to have to be aware of what's going on. And the best way to do that is have a volleyball player be able to talk to the ones that are playing volleyball about why they would want to sign or come to Nebraska and be a representative of Nebraska. And by the way, here's what your contract can look like. I mean, all that makes sense. So Linda seems to have a good finger on the pulse of Husker Nation.
I mean, you could have just said a regular. You didn't have to go bonkers.
I'm trying to keep my brain moving around here.
John,
I'm old,
if this...
Otherwise, I just go...
Well, while we're on it, James had said, and I'm going to phrase it in a question, but does NIL need to be capped?
Yeah, how are they going to do that?
Exactly.
They don't do that in Major League Baseball. That's why it's such a shitty sport.
Whoa.
Pow!
Whoa. That is inappropriate, sir.
Does it need a salary cap? Yeah, it'd be nice, but again, there's no structure in any of this. Because I've said many times, the NCAA did nothing for this. They limited this to the point they lost, and they went, oh, well. And then they blamed Mark Emmert, as well they should, because the guy was worthless. And they paid him a lot of money to take the blame for it, which was his job. And now here we are, and the question is, Joel Tilson asks, who will make rules for NIL? Nobody. Nobody will make rules for NIL. Not until the government, probably steps into this. They are probably the only ones who can do any level of regulation. God help us.
But the problem is, see, when you're I'm trying to again choose my words carefully because they're watching, John.
Yeah.
I don't want the government involved in my college football.
No, you don't.
The government can't figure out the shit that they're supposed to figure out. What makes them think that they can? What makes us think that? Why should we put any faith in them? Being able to solve something that really doesn't pertain. Like, okay, so all right, this is extreme hyperbole, so I apologize. Do I want people in Washington having control or any say over NIL? I want that about as much as I want our former head coach with the nuclear launch codes.
That's kind of drastic.
I just they don't match. There's a hierarchy of priority, right? And college student athlete compensation should not be decided by people over there. They just shouldn't. There's already a governing body for college athletics, and if they can't figure out how to regulate this, then the governing body needs new leadership.
Well, you know who they should turn all this over to?
John Johnston.
No, well...
John Johnston, regulator.
Only if I get paid millions upon millions of dollars.
Here's what it is.
They should just turn all of college football over to the NFL.
Oh gosh, no, don't do that.
Because the NFL runs a damn fine organization. They control every aspect of everything, and if you do anything wrong, you get fined. And you get thrown out. Because they'll make something up to throw you out, unless you're an owner.
I can see it now. This is it. It's going to be a new song. It's going to sweep the nation. It's going to be by John Jay. That's you. And it's going to be called On-Call Regulators. Mount up! I had to chew a lot of leather to get there, but I'm really proud of myself. All right. All right. Minnie on YouTube says in one of Rule's interviews, he said it was important for all the players, even the walk-ons, to receive some NIL, and that's great. And somebody else in the comments, I couldn't tag it, but they said walk-ons getting NIL is how you get walk-ons on, because again, we're not. All right, everybody, I hope you're sitting down.
Oh my God,
this isn't the Nebraska of the
water.
Yeah, you should probably get some wine. No, I just want to remind everybody, this is not. That's a good one, Roger. The song will be called "Where's My Damn Fullback." This is not Nebraska of the '90s. All right, so people are. Matt Rule's doing it. We've seen 2 months. He's done a terrific job of recruiting, of selling the program, selling the state, selling Lincoln, selling himself to, these young men who are coming to Nebraska. But unless you've got that desire to just wear the N, you're not. It's not there. You've got to be a kid from Broken Bow or something who's, I want to, I grew up watching Nebraska, and I want to do it for pride, for my state, for my hometown. I want to run out of that tunnel. So give everybody a shot. Let everybody have a piece of the pie, I guess. And I say that, however, Joel, I divide NIL equally among players. That sounds dangerously like Todd's favorite form of government. And he's not here to laugh at that comment. But if you know what we've called Todd for years now on these various programs, you'll know. But anyway, no, that's not the answer. I mean, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's the answer, John.
I don't think it is either. I think we're just, honestly, I think that nil. I think that the numbers we hear about nil, I think they're vastly overinflated across the board. But and then we tend to pick up outliers like, oh my God, this guy turned down a $13 million nil contract from Florida, and then we tend to think, oh, that must be what everybody's getting, and it kind of isn't. I mean, I don't know. It's here, it's not going to go away. There's probably nothing is going to make this go away. So it's just one more thing in college football.
So here's the college kids have been getting paid to play athletics for a long time. It's just now it's legal, which also means that if you were to put a salary cap on it or something like that, if you were to this is where this is slippery slope. But if you were to kind of regulate it in any way, then you're going to still have like the secret deals. It's transparency. I think in this situation is kind of the best. Which have it all out there. That way somebody's not running around with a McDonald's bag full of $100 bills. Vince asked this question a while back. We were talking about the Big Ten kind of legacy scholarship approach, and he said, are scholarships year to year, or are they for all four-ish years? I believe it's for, like, you sign, you do the paperwork, and it's more signatures than just signing your letter of intent and faxing it in or emailing it in or whatever today. But that's kind of your commitment to be there for the duration of your collegiate career, and then obviously there's paperwork to undo that so that you can enter a transfer portal. You can go somewhere else. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. You are smarter than me.
I want to say that the schools are not legally obligated to provide a scholarship for 4 years.
Okay.
It is emphasized in the Big Ten as a conference that that's what they want the schools to do. But I don't think there's any honestly, I don't think your Big Ten conference could tell you you are going to give scholarships for 4 years. But it is generally frowned upon that they do not. Can I read y'all something? Can I read something, Greg?
I don't know, John. Can you?
Yeah, I've been doing some research for another video, and I want to read you all something from 1894. This is from 1894. Okay, this is talking about a game between Harvard and Yale in 1894. The big game. There's begin. The big game had become big business for both of the schools. In 1893, Harvard spent $18,754 on football, including $3,266 for transportation, $1,877 on summer practice, and about $3,500 for training table. Their custom-tailored leather uniforms cost $125 a piece.
Ooh.
Okay. That is the money they're talking about being involved in football in 1894. A custom-tailored leather uniform, $125 a piece. Do you have any idea how much you'd pay for a suit in 1894?
Well, hold on now, Governor. What was it, 125?
$125 for their custom-tailored uniforms.
So, I'm on usinflationcalculator.com, which only goes back to 1913. But $125 in 1913 would equate numbers. Newest numbers are not up yet, I don't believe, for 2023. But $3,695.14.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This particular chapter in going on about the 1894, I think it's Yale and Harvard, talks about how much money was involved in the game, how much the athletic departments were making, how much the ticket, the gate was making, because this had already become a huge business in 1894. And keep in mind, 1894 is Nebraska's 4th year of football. And they're also talking about how, a lot of these teams were paying people to just come in and they weren't students. They were just guys playing football that were ringers.
Yeah.
So this problem with money and this whole thing where, a lot of money being thrown around and stuff has been with this game since its inception. And it really hasn't, you can throw the NCAA in there. I think, who is it? Joel keeps bringing up the SMU death penalty. This nil is just one more change or one more thing in the college football that's, going to be a change for us going forward.
Right.
I don't think it ruins the sport. I think it makes it more equitable for athletes. But it's certainly going to be interesting to see what happens from here on out.
Is there, and maybe, because nil money all comes from outside, right?
Yeah.
Like at what point is there ever a point where the TV deals, the media rights deals, where that money trickles down to the student athlete, or is that?
Well, keep in mind, wasn't our deal with? It wasn't Adidas. One of the deals they signed with a media outlet or somebody had a percentage of that deal going back into nil. So.
Oh, good. All right. Well.
Like I said, it's just a change. You can make of it. It can bother you or not bother you. I mean, we've gone through we had the implementation of the BCS, and everybody said this is going to ruin the sport. And then we had the 14 playoff. Now we're going to have the 12-team playoff, and 2 years after that, we're going to have the 16, and then the 32 wild card teams and whatever the hell.
They're gonna.
It's just change, I guess.
I can't see it going much more than 12 or 16 because you start getting you can't do it. It's not basketball. You can't play every other day. And they don't want to be playing into March. Like college basketball will not allow college football to play into March. So,
I don't
all
know,
right.
Greg. Life is a lot more miserable without football, so maybe they will. They'll just have like 2 teams, 2 leagues. They have beach volleyball separate from regular volleyball. They could have
True.
a different football. We're getting way off track. We're even at 40 minutes and we haven't even started talking about signing day recruits.
All right, let's knock out a few of these questions rapid fire. Vince said a few minutes ago, do the scholarships from the former regime need to be honored if the player does not want to leave of his own accord?
Typically what happens is, here's what happens in transition. Number one, a kid decides he's going to leave. Okay, he's going to leave and go to another school. It's not your problem. That Logan Smothers has stayed this long is pretty amazing. Okay?
That's true.
A kid still wants to play football for you, but you look at he's got a scholarship. You are the coach, and you look at him and you go, you know what? You're never going to see the field, and honestly, there's 8 guys ahead of you at your position. We're not going to give you a scholarship, but we can fulfill our obligation to you with an academic scholarship. I believe that is true because in the first year of a new coach coming on. So, it's like that other guy that we fired when he got hired. There were guys that didn't play, and, some of them got scholarships to continue their academics at Nebraska. So that's, I think the key here is to not just dump people out. I think that there are some universities that do that when you go out and talk to players, who played at other schools. But I think the University of Nebraska, they try to do the right thing. I think our athletic department is very well run in that regard. They may screw a lot of other things up, but in that regard, in terms of taking care of people, I think they do a pretty good job relative to everybody else in football.
I agree, and I think that type of approach is spreading. There was a player for Nebraska a few years back, and I don't remember exactly the year, and I don't remember exactly the player, but he had a career-ending injury. Might have been a tight end. I don't know. But he had a career-ending injury, and Nebraska didn't have to, but they said, yeah, he can absolutely stay here, finish out his degree. That's our commitment to him. And that, that was, you hear more of those stories. I like those stories because let's face it, all these universities can afford to do that. They can afford to get, a couple extra kids through, get them an education.
Especially if you're in the Big Ten, for God's sakes. The media money coming in is ridiculous.
All right, so Fred says we got talking about the difference between Nebraska and Colorado's nil approach, etc. And Fred says, I bet Deion's gone from Colorado in 3 years. I don't disagree. 3 years may be long. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of a rapid fire one, John. Any want to weigh in on Deion's time frame?
No.
Okay.
No.
Moving on. And then Fred also says, Fred's anti-socialism too, but it says, if I'm a star quarterback, a Heisman candidate, sorry, I don't want to have my nil money cut and be the same as the punter. Nobody would.
I would. If I was an 18-year-old kid, I wouldn't either.
And to that, I would almost say, kind of the Haas always used to say, when a team's getting their asses handed to them and the score's being run, he's like, hey, if you don't want that to happen, then stop them. It's on you to stop them. It would be, in this case, it'd be on the punter to improve his skill set and his demand. And again, we're in a capitalistic society, so like it or not, I suppose. All right. I saw this. Cornhusker Corner has his tickets to the game of the year. It's the one guaranteed game that Nebraska wins. Haha. I'll go ahead and say it. And he says, see y'all April 22nd.
I hope to get there.
I hope you get there too, John.
In fact, I text Todd.
You texted Todd?
I am texting Todd right now because otherwise I'll forget, because that's what I do. I have so many
this
things
is the greatest,
going on.
The best time of all times is to text him at 9:15 when we're in the middle of a live show.
Yeah. Get me a spring game ticket, you son of a bitch. Yeah. See that emphasis there?
I like it. All right, John, should we talk about some of these
Yeah.
some of these players?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so with the help of screenshotting, here are some of the players who signed today in no particular order. We've got Ishmael Smith Flores, a 6'4" tight end from Crowley, Texas.
Played
Y'all let
for Bob Wager at Martin High School. I
I'm gonna
think that's
take
the
your word
guy.
for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is great because I can see the comments and I can't see us, so perfect. We've got Jacob Hood, he's from Nashville by way of Georgia. He's the offensive tackle, or I should say the offensive lineman, 6'8", 345, coming in from national champion Georgia, one of the Corn Dogs.
Should be an instant contributor at the most needed position on the entire team.
We have Eric Gilbert, 6'6" tight end, 260 pounds, from Marietta, Georgia, by way of national champion Georgia Bulldogs. He's a Corn Dog.
Another guy that huge potential, huge upside, comes in with some baggage. But, I mean, if the guy, fits into the team and fits into the environment, I mean, he could be, he could be enormous for us this year, right out of the gates, because he has two things. He has experience at the Division I level, and he has production that he's proven himself in the past.
We have M.J. Sherman, 6'3", 250-pound linebacker from Baltimore, Maryland, by way of the Georgia Bulldogs. He's a Corn Dog.
Another guy that could be an instant contributor. I mean, at Georgia, so he knows what the work is to be highly successful. We're going to see this. This is exciting. I mean, 39 new players. My God.
I just want to send a shout out to Joel's comment here. Nice posters. I did a great job copying them directly from Husker FB Nation on Twitter. So all credit to that. All credit to that. All right, back to him. I think I've ran the gamut on the Corn Dogs. So we've got, almost. How about Demetrius Bell from Nashville, Tennessee? He's a 6'1", 185-pound wide receiver.
Yeah, guy. He's a recruit, so he's not a transfer. He's coming in new.
Right. That's why I said
he's one of the guys. It's going to be interesting how Matt Rule uses his receivers. I think we've seen that he wants burners. So one of these guys is going to end up replacing Trey Palmer's, the kind of guy that just moves down the field and scores long 75-yard touchdowns, and we all go, "Yeah, take that, you sons of bitches!" Maybe that would be the guy.
Maybe that will be the guy. Yeah, what we call that stretching the field?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Over the top.
Over the top.
Over the top.
Then we have 6 foot, 175-pound defensive back from Aurora, Colorado, DeAndre Barnes.
This is the guy. Apparently, I saw something about this that Matt Rule was just happened to be driving by a high school in Colorado and asked the coach, or stopped and asked if he could see the football coach. And the football coach said, "Hey, I've got a guy here that's been overlooked," and that's him. Now, I am not 100%. I didn't verify that or anything. That this was the guy that was kind of like the last signee, or the one guy that I don't think anybody knew about ahead of time. So we'll see what happens.
Did you like that, John? We're making the show fun.
I'm getting dizzy. Okay.
All right, from Arlington, Texas. He's a 6 foot, 165-pound wide receiver, Jeremiah Charles.
You do that really well.
Thanks.
Another guy that played for Bob Wager in Arlington. So there you go, Texas guy.
From Arlington, Texas, a 5'10", 185-pound running back, walk-on, Gage Wager.
I think, he is a walk-on. Son of Bob Wager, new tight ends coach. I think he's the tight ends coach. Yes, he's the tight ends coach.
I like how you
have
just
to
said
learn all
that.
these new names and the new positions.
It's going to be tough. And there's 48 of them. And it's
Yeah.
growing exponentially every week. And now, I say this, I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm going to go ahead and say, last but certainly not least, from Omaha, Nebraska, the hometown boys, 6 foot, 185-pound defensive back, walk-on Mason Jones.
You know, we usually get a email from the university about listing all the players and listing the walk-ons, and I haven't seen that for a while.
Sorry, it's all
I
my
remember
fault.
that in past years. I don't think we got one. Should I check that right now while we're live?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay.
I'm trying to find it. Here we go. Roger Moore says that we need the posters when Todd comes back because they cover up faces, I'm guessing.
Wow. Holy, jeez Louise. Tough crowd.
Right? No, because I remember that Todd was taking a little crap this past Monday night. Roger, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's why, right? To cover up faces for the posters. You can go ahead and answer on your time, Roger. We've got all night. AJ Racing 90 says, "Wow, you know I listen to the show, and I don't watch it. Unfortunately I don't watch it, but I listen to it. So I listened to it yesterday, and I know that. Yep, Roger says yes. See, I do pay attention. All right, here we got a nice long one from Cornhusker Corner. Y'all would be surprised how many diamonds in the rough are in Texas. I played at a 4A private school in Houston. We have a number of people who never played but were elite athletes. Texas is talented. I think I'm going to agree with you 100% right there, Cornhusker Corner, but I think that's why Matt Rule is trying to rebuild that relationship, because when Nebraska switched conferences, at least this has always been the narrative, right? Like when Nebraska jumped from the Big 12 to the Big 10, they lost Texas as a recruiting ground. But with, like, let's face it, with nationwide, like Big 10 Network is nationwide, their affiliation with Fox is nationwide. So it's not like, oh my gosh, if if it goes to Nebraska, we're never going to see him play. Bullshit. No, I live in Illinois, and I can see, grant Illinois is a Big Ten state. I get that. But I can watch a lot of college football. I can watch a lot of Pac-12 football if I want to stay up late, not sleep, and watch shit football. But I think what happened was coaches got lazy, and they didn't want to mend fences in Texas. Matt Rule already had good relationship from his time at Baylor. He's just look, I hope all these kids, come out, they're all, college football Hall of Famers or whatever. I understand that's probably not going to happen when you get them late in the cycle and a new coach, but like it's just exciting to be hearing some of these towns again, because we haven't talked much about that pipeline. No pun intended. By the way, pipeline jerky. Anyway, we haven't had much of those Texas recruits in years, and so Cornhusker Corner, I think you're absolutely right. It hasn't been a tapped source in years, and I'm excited to see what happens with all these players who are coming up to Nebraska.
Sorry.
You're okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Do you have more of the recruits?
No. What, did I miss any?
Oh my God, that's 39 of them, man. There's like 30.
I just got the ones. I just got the ones from today.
Oh, okay. All right.
You jackass.
I'm a jackass.
we remember
Okay.
a couple months ago we had a Kilo on and we talked about the early
yeah, we
signers.
did. Well, now we have everybody together in a big happy family. Who do you think is going to be the biggest? Who's going to contribute, Greg? Out of these 39 people, who do you think is going to recruit or going to be the guys that we're going to go, oh my God, that guy, when we start playing football this fall?
This fall?
Yeah.
You're going to be talking about like the guys who are coming up from, if I'm being honest, you're going to talk about the guys who are coming up from Georgia. right? Because they don't. Oh, shit! I did miss one. I don't think I'm going to worry about it, but we forgot Sua Lefotu.
Yeah.
The 6'4", 300-pound defensive lineman from Bellflower, California. I'm so sorry, Sua, if you're watching or listening to this. I didn't do it on purpose. I literally was doing this as the intro was running at the beginning of the show. You're gonna talk about guys who are gonna make an impact, or the guys who already have Division I Power 5 experience, and so it's gonna be those corn dogs.
What about Ben Scott, the center from Arizona State? What about Jeff Sims, quarterback from Georgia Tech? Huh? What about Josh Fleeks, the wide receiver from Baylor? Marco, I'll tell you who's going to make the biggest impact the quickest. It's going to be Marco Ortiz, long snapper.
I was going to say the kicker from Westside, probably.
Tristan Alvano. Is that
wasn't he from Westside? Did I get that right?
Yes.
I hate to be.
Tristan Alvano, kicker.
See.
Is that who you're picking? You're picking the corn dog guys to the biggest right out of the gates. I was going to say that Owen Walker, I think, has it right. I keep wanting to say Malaki.
Yeah, you'd be very wrong on that one.
I need to get this out of me. Malachi Coleman, I think, is. I think people are going to be. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with him.
I like this quote by. I don't disagree. I like this quote by Fred. He says that California defensive line recruit, again, we'll assume he's talking about Sua Lefotu, the 6'5", 295-pound lineman, is the proverbial, quote, rolling bowling ball of butcher knives, the end quote that Charlie McBride always talked about. That is a great line, and it's a great quote from a great coach. Thank you, Fred, for that one.
We have Chief Border, the edge rusher from Florida. We have Corey Collier from Florida, the safety. And then we have, the other. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say like I gave not quite half the list. Like I can't keep them all straight. I didn't have the whole thing. John, I don't know if you know this or not. I flunked out of radio. Part of it was due to lack of preparation.
What? Okay, Billy Kemp, the wide receiver transfer from Virginia. There is so many guys here. I know that one of the popular videos that I could probably do on YouTube is 10 guys that'll contribute the fastest, because you do that article every year. But who do I really think? If I had to pick like three guys that I would say start out at Minnesota, right here in Minnesota against the Gophers, and start making plays the quickest, and make the impact the fastest, I'm going to say Malachi Coleman. Because he just seems like a freak job to me. Jacob Hood, the guy at offensive tackle. And I'm going to go with Eric Gilbert, the tight end.
Okay.
And not the quarterback. The quarterback is an easy pick, because you always look at quarterbacks and they're always, the quarterback, gets all the girls, gets all the attention. I think that Casey Thompson will be our day one starter, because Casey Thompson, I think, has a really good head on his shoulders. I know he will miss spring.
Joel.
But I think he's going to fit. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback this fall. I think we have certainly plenty of options.
All right.
I think when you look at this list of players, it's hard to not start drinking the Kool-Aid right now, which will lead to overdoses.
Look, when has too much Kool-Aid ever been a bad thing? All right, I got to address this. God bless you, Joel. We get this question about every other week. Will the Huskers ever have a hockey team? They already have one. It's a club team. They play at the Breslow Center, I believe?
Yeah.
I encourage everybody to go out, check them out, show them your support. As far as a varsity hockey team, I'm gonna say no. And that's tough because it balances out really well. It does. It balances out really well for Title IX because you can have a women's hockey team. Women's hockey, like women's Olympic hockey is fire, dude. It's great. It's competitive. It's fun to watch. You're gonna
have a women's wrestling team before you have a women's hockey team.
Well, yeah, but you already have all of the everything you need for women's wrestling, you know. I don't know where I was going. All right, no, I don't see that one happening, Joel. I'm sorry. It breaks my heart too.
You know, the one guy we didn't talk about this entire class is Dwight Boodle.
Yes, well, we talked about him on the other signing day.
Halo, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good. It's a interesting and a fun group. I was thinking today. Oh my God, are you frozen like that? I was thinking today that it is so many months until football season. And then I was
not that many, John. So today, I don't know if you know this. You know what today is? February 1st.
Yeah.
That means we're 6.
Don't count the days.
I can't count days. I was just going to count months. 6 months away.
I'm going to take this question.
Okay.
Roger Moore says, is there a Fortnite team?
Is there?
Roger. Yeah. Interestingly enough, you can go on YouTube and you can listen to an interview with Amon Green, who is leading up esports at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And there's a 30-minute interview with him talking about how they have their own locker rooms and they have their own varsities and they have their own teams that they compete with. I think that's very interesting. I'm not a... Okay, let's be honest. I suck at Fortnite. It's the speed. You know, the whole being able to shoot somebody with a sniper rifle in those games is completely beyond my skills. But I do enjoy video games. I think if people listen to me enough, they know that. But Amon Green talking about how he's involved with all of that, I thought it was very interesting, and I thought I wanted to know more about it. I thought maybe I could ask for an interview with Amon Green, but then I thought nobody cares about it, so I didn't really pursue it. There probably is a Fortnite team. What's the other game? Valorant? I have never played that. Valorant, I think, is a huge game that they play. League of Legends is another one where they talk about strategies. They have game plans going into things. And you have to, because some of those games are so complex that it's amazing. Okay.
I'm on Green, by the way. Mm-hmm. Nebraska running back, NFL running back, actor. He was actually in a deleted scene in 2016's Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
I didn't know that, or I didn't remember that.
He was. His role was inmate thug. But he's in there. It's in his IMDb credits. And when that came out, I have another podcast for all of you who don't know. I have another podcast that's strictly like pop culture nerd stuff because that's my other interest. It's like Cornhuskers, being a big, huge nerd. And when I found that out, I was like, man, I can wed two of my real passions and have a conversation with Amon Green, and he never responded to me. So apparently you're not supposed to reach out to strangers on Twitter by sliding into their DMs and asking for an interview. I know that now. I didn't know that then. All right, let's get to... Go ahead, John.
I did that a lot during the pandemic.
Well, yeah. You know. All right. Joel asked this. I know you guys addressed it a little bit Monday night. Frost being considered for offensive coordinator at Bama. I've also heard possibly Miami. There's no real chance.
Joel, where did you hear that? Could you respond in the comments? Just tell me where you heard this.
My thing is, I feel like, again, I've used the word diplomatically. 18 times today. I'm going to try to be diplomatic about this. Scott Frost is poison right now. Mm-hmm. You got to let the heat simmer. You got to let you just got to let the heat dissipate before you try bringing him on.
Yeah, I don't think I don't see any interest in why anybody would be interested in him. Honestly, his offense was not anything that anybody would be excited about. I mean, he had some play designs that were interesting, but as a coordinator, no. So, but suddenly you're getting all these pop culture questions.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Do we have anything?
We have a long off season.
You know what I did? I asked Kalo to write an article about where our recruiting class fits into the Big Ten and everything, and I think he was going to do that and go through some of the recruits and explain where he thinks they're fit. I did see. I think it was Jeremy Purnell at Sports Illustrated did a ranking of his classes or where he thought everybody fit, and Nebraska was in 25th. I think we were. Okay, you got Ohio State, Michigan. Penn State was ahead of Michigan. So Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. And then you think Michigan State was at 24 and we were at 25th. So, I mean, that makes us the top recruiting class in the Big Ten West. In your first year as a coach, right. That's pretty good considering we were at 60 when he came in. So I would call this whole first recruiting round by Matt Rule and staff just I guess an A+ in a way.
Bona fide success.
In terms
really
of
bona
going
fide
out
success.
And getting guys and getting, we'll see what happens come fall, but it's been way more interesting than I imagined it could be.
Had this question a little bit ago from Cornhusker Corner in regards to who could be that, new addition impact player. And Cornhusker Corner says Malachi could be an instant impact. Betts could be a game changer. Add Gilbert and Fedone at tight end. Grant and Allen at running back, and either Casey or Sims. Sounds pretty damn good, not gonna lie. And he says, as we all do, I do this every year. That's some mighty fine Kool-Aid. And that's fine. I'll drink that Kool-Aid.
James right. Marshall says Frost had decent offenses. No, he didn't. He did not. Why do you think that?
Like, thanks for the comment. We're gonna shit all over it.
That is kind of. You know what? I'm gonna look this up right now. We're gonna go back 2021, and we're gonna see where Nebraska was 71st in total offense. They scored 27.9 points a game, and that was a huge problem. If you guys remember the podcast during that time, is that we just didn't score. You remember all the red zone problems we had? We'd move up and down the field, generate a lot of yards, and then we couldn't score in the red zone. So I love you, James, but I don't think so.
Was that the best 3-9 team of all time year, right? 2021. Man, I'll tell you what, we score half of those times, half of those red zone trips that we missed out on, and buddy, we might have been 6-6.
2019, we were 72nd in total offense at scoring 28 points a game. And I mean, if we go to
poor James.
If we go to scoring offense, which is really, honestly, if you're going to look, James says I was looking for something good to say about Frost. That's admirable. It is. I think that he had interesting concepts and interesting play designs. He just didn't string things together, which I think is weird. Given that he did some really exciting things in the with the options and with different looks like that.
While you are,
it didn't work out.
Were you going to look at other of his offensive rankings? I was going to.
No.
Okay. Joel says Huskers will be ranked next season.
See
And
this?
I don't disagree.
See this? See this? See this?
No.
See,
See what?
this is what happens. You start drinking the Kool-Aid. And then you're going to be ODing by July, and nobody will hear from me again in August.
That was very expressive. When you go back and you look at the film, when you do film study on this episode, I want you to jump to about the minute 10 or the hour 10 mark, because you'll folks, I have seen a lot of things. That was a first. All right, we got a couple other pinned ones here, and then we're gonna try to wrap things up. All right. James said a long time ago. James, I hope you're still here. He's laughing that Iowa's keeping Brian Ferentz.
Oh, that was the tweet I was going to put up for a graphic today. Scott Docterman from The Athletic, the Iowa guy who covers Iowa for The Athletic, posted the tweet of Kirk Ferentz saying, "I anticipate making no changes, no coaching changes this season." You're kind of like, okay. I mean, you know,
It's like you have the opportunity.
Go home that night and see what happens. It's just that whole thing is just got to be so frustrating for Iowa fans, and they know that it isn't going to change. You know, I mean, it's not going to change in the foreseeable future.
I guess my curiosity is, yes, they won 7 of the last 8 games, correct? Iowa, Nebraska, Iowa won 7 in a row, right? My number's pretty accurate there.
They won some games.
Okay, so, but they're in a state of they've plateaued. You know, like they have a few years where they win a few more games, or you know, they lose a few more games, but they're here, and like I know the fans are frustrated, but like the administration, Gary Barr in particular, is fine with them being here. Like he doesn't want to get rid of his buddy. He can't get rid of his buddy's son, so they're never going to change until Kirk Ferentz. And I don't mean this like retires or dies, whichever one comes first. I don't mean that to be hateful, but they're not going to change. Whereas Nebraska, you can say, yeah, we've been here, but we just got rid of the golden boy, you know, the national champion winning quarterback, the favorite son, because this is not good. We don't want to be here. We don't want to be here. I'm going to adjust my plateaus. This is where we want to be, and so we're actually making changes. And I think that just the fact that they're clowning on us because we've been down,
right?
But we're not always going to be down. But they're always going to be here. And yeah, what was the, you know, you see it in message boards or on Twitter or whatnot, is congratulations, Iowa. It's the Black Friday. It was the Black Friday, you know, motto for years. It's great. You've beaten us in our worst stretch, but that's all. That's their claim to fame. That and the wave is all that Iowa has. They've beaten their rival, you know, when their rival has been crap, and they waved to the Children's Hospital, which is great. And that they're happy with those two things as an administration. The fans, obviously, yes, want more, and so I part of me feels for the fan base. They're just never going to get what they want while either Gary Barta's in charge, Kirk Ferentz is head coach, and certainly while Brian Ferentz is offensive coordinator. So, all right. Whew. That was fun.
You add to that, you know, the Big Ten West by itself is changing. I mean, Luke Fickell's a new coach coming in, and I think he's a pretty good coach, or he's had some good success. And then you have, in the next couple of years, you've got USC and UCLA coming into the conference. So it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a tough wins. You know, it's going to be tough to play football in this conference, even tougher than it is now.
And you look at the Big Ten West, they've trended younger, but you still got wrinkly old Kirk out there. You know, like look at the California teams. Like Lincoln Riley's not old, Matt Rule's not old, PJ Fleck, Luke Fickell, even Burt, not terribly old. He's just fat as hell. So the coach, like, they're changing things up. Kirk's just Kirk. Nothing's ever going to change. And they'll get 6, 7, 8 wins consistently, I guess, and have a standout year, but they'll have a down year as well. And again, the administration is fine with that, but the fans are not. So
there was James Marshall said something.
He did. What?
You put it up there, and I clicked to take it off.
All right. James says, how has Iowa put together a solid recruiting class?
Well, I think when you look at Iowa football, number one, who was probably the best-rated rookie center last year in the NFL is Tyler Lindenbaum, right?
Yeah. But also, how many rookie centers are there?
Well, that's true.
It was him and Cam Jurgens.
But Iowa has done a good job of putting some players in the NFL at positions, and they have an exceptional defensive coordinator. Phil Parker. And, they're not terrible. That's the thing about them. They're not bad. Just their offense is stinky as hell. So they have the record of putting guys in the NFL. And quite frankly, that's where Nebraska needs to be in the next 2-3 years. You know what I mean? We need to show, especially if we're going to get offensive linemen to come to Nebraska, we need to show that we can take a player like Jacob Hood, who came here from Georgia, or a Ben Scott that transferred here from Arizona State. We can show that we can get those guys the skills to get into the NFL, and that will increase our offensive line recruiting over time.
Well, here's the weird thing, though. There are Husker offensive linemen currently in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Like Fardiak. Right. And I think from a recruiting standpoint, you're going to have to show that more than like the Ben Scotts or the Jacob Hoods are going in, because a lot of their success can be attributed to where they came from. Potentially, you're going to have to get no pressure, Matt Rule, Marcus Satterfield, and Donovan Rail. You're going to have to get Bryce Benhart in the NFL.
Well,
you're going to have to do that.
I hope that Bryce Benhart turns his career at Nebraska around and becomes a solid offensive tackle for us. That would be nice, because I personally have bitched about him by name so much that I would like to see it. I'd like to be wrong. That would bring me great joy.
How is that different? What is it with the double Bs? You hate Bryce Benhart, and I have a history of shitting on Brody Bell.
I don't know.
But when I do it, I'm a bad guy. When you do it, it's comical and everybody chuckles.
That's because I do it with love, Greg.
I do it with love too. All right, couple more quick ones. It's getting late, and John's. I think we're both sundowning now.
I don't have any water.
This one came from a little bit earlier. Roger Moore says, "Rule first game: shirt or smock."
I don't want to see the smock. I don't care if he wins. Really don't. If he wins, he can wear a frickin' onesie, a Herbie Husker onesie, and I will not give a shit. By the way, I had a meeting with the bookstore people at the University of Minnesota this morning. Since I published the video, everybody knows that I do work for the University of Minnesota. I don't work for them full time. I'm an IT consultant. But during our meeting with bookstores, which I do, I help them with their IT. They showed me, one of the guys showed me in one of their bookstores, a onesie, a life-size onesie of a Goldie Gopher outfit, and I thought I would wear that. Probably not if it's Goldie Gopher, but give me a Herbie Husker onesie, and I that would be great. Do we have that? Does that exist?
I don't know.
Because when I look at Nebraska apparel and stuff that we can wear, most of the time it looks really standard and, quite frankly, kind of boring.
I found the perfect ensemble.
Yes, Ewok outfit. There you go.
That's what John wants. Matt Rule showing up game day.
Rugged.
That's hey. You show respect.
Yeah, I think they would have an issue with the spear part of that.
Really, the spear? Is it the spear he's holding or the spear that's not covered? Come on now. Because he's not wearing pants, John. He's not wearing... All right, moving on. All right. It always seems like the end of the show. Anyway. All right. I think last one here. This was from way back in the show. Roger asked... He told me to look out because Todd got renamed this past week. Do I have to be on my best behavior?
I'm confused by what you just said.
Todd got renamed
on
Monday's show.
Says.
Greg, look out. Todd got... I think it's what it's supposed to say. Oh, reamed. Oh. Uh-oh. Never mind.
Moving on. God. I thought I was bad when I get tired.
I've been looking at that for an hour.
Just drink some more alcohol, Greg.
I'm empty, John, all right?
Oh, my God. You know, you should have like 2 or 3. Vince Watson says, Little Red onesie, John, I would wear it. I would.
I know you would.
I love Little Red.
Do you, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's kind of cool and unique.
At the end of the day, does it matter what Matt Rule's wearing as long as we're winning?
No, it doesn't. I mean, as long as he's not breaking laws. Masagi. Okay, I got to write that word down and go look it up.
Josh says the Herbie Husker onesie is called bib coveralls.
That's a good point. You know, some people can pull that off. I imagine that people, you know, if I put on bib coveralls, people would probably look at me and think I was representing some apocalyptic behavior or something.
And then Josh says, now we have to get hooked on Phonics as a show sponsor instead of Blue Chew because I couldn't read.
Will they pay us?
At this point, I'll take money from anybody.
Yeah.
I'll take money from anybody. That sounds bad. I apologize. I gotta set some boundaries. John.
Yes.
Is it go home time?
Oh yeah, it probably is.
All right.
I think everything looks exciting. You know, a couple of things I do want to say is I am setting up hopefully a show with Patrick Ebert of D1 Baseball to preview the Big Ten baseball season. I haven't come up with a time for that yet because I want either Aaron or Todd, one of our baseball guys, to do that with me. What else was I going to say, Greg? I know now you're going to go. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, but
But wait! There's more.
Okay.
Get a hoodie.
Get a hoodie.
Get a hoodie.
Can they click that link in the video?
I don't think they can.
Okay.
I need to figure out this. You know, that's the off season. I need to figure out how to do a better job of marketing and things like that. Because okay, we should go. I'm clicking on, clicking off. I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
John, you're a great guy.
Oh well, thank you.
I spent today telling a lot of people how much I appreciate them, and I want to do the same to you.
Well, thank you.
So I really do. I appreciate you. Without you, none of us would be here because you formed Coordination out of your own mind 13 years ago, I believe.
17.
17. Okay. Well, I'm bad at math.
Years are rolling by, buddy.
I came on board about 10 years ago. In one capacity or another, and I'm very thankful for you for the opportunity to continue, and I'm thankful for everybody who sits and spends their time. Like, look, I'm guessing that most of the people who are watching this live have families, but the fact that they choose to spend their Wednesday or Thursday evenings with us and Mondays with you and Todd, it means a lot. So thank you to everybody who's watching this. Thank you to everybody who's listening to the podcast when that becomes available on Friday. We really do appreciate you. This is by far my favorite version of the 5 Heart Podcast, and I've been doing this show for a lot of years. So thanks to everybody. Thank you, John. Thanks to everybody at Coordination, all the great contributors. We need to spend the offseason getting more of those voices and faces on the show. So for everybody at Coordination, for our founder and fearless leader, That guy right there. I'm Greg Mahochko. This is the 5 Heart podcast and show, and we remind each and every week that 5 Heart is all the heart you need. John?
Go Big Red!
I couldn't have said it better myself. Wouldn't want to try.